fan of storytelling and metaphor. You know, as humans, we utilize metaphors to communicate with each other and to make sense of our experiences and make sense of life. And a common metaphor that's used with parenting is one of construction, or of the parent being the architect. You know, we build up our kids. We're working on this. You know, we're trying to design something, and you know, a lot of times these are unconscious and unintentional. But as we all know, metaphors are powerful. Language matters, and the way that we see our children and the way that we talk about it, you know, affects how we relate to them. And so I want to invite you to consider a shift in metaphor of parenting, one away from this idea of architect or kind of construction worker, and more toward gardener. But you think about it, you know, versus in construction, it's really, there's a focus on the designs that we have as the kind of creators and the plans that we have. But in gardening, it's really about the life in the plants or whatever that we're fostering and cultivating, and it's all about the conditions really and the environment. You know, the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of water and soil and, you know, nutrients and fertilizer. And it's really actually a powerful metaphor shift for parenting, because, you know, our children are born with everything that they need to thrive in life. And our job as parents is really to prepare them for adulthood by creating an environment for them to learn and to thrive. And, you know, let me give you a picture of kind of how this may apply in sort of everyday life. You've probably heard of the concept of helicopter parenting, and that, you know, has sort of you know, often sort of associated with a parent that's sort of supervising or really so involved in a child's life that they're so, you know, really so concerned about what, you know, the child making a mistake that unintentionally it can communicate to a child that we don't trust them. And, you know, we want our children to believe in themselves, but how can a child believe in themselves unless we do? And part of that belief is that they can make mistakes and learn from them in sort of healthy ways and a healthy context. And a helpful question that we can ask ourselves when we're responding to a child or intervening in their lives, say, is this for the child or is this for me? And, you know, is this for the child's well-being or is this to help manage my own anxiety? And of course, along with that is sort of the question of what is it that helps this child thrive? You know, Fred Rogers, who is many of us remember as children as the children's television host, and there's been some you know, documentary and a movie about him. He said this. He said, "Let's devote ourselves to understand what it is that makes children thrive, and do all within our power to provide that for them." And I think he would be right on board with this metaphor of gardener. And so, you know, when you're thinking about reactions or responses to your child, if they're, you know, out playing in the yard, or you're tempted to say, "Oh, be careful, be careful." Again, not that there's anything inherently wrong with that phrase, but just being mindful of the power of a child learning through experience, again, with safety in mind, but always checking in with ourselves. Is my response to help lower my own anxiety, or is it really for the child? That's a really helpful lens. Is what I'm doing, is it for the child or is it for me? And even sometimes journaling about that or asking yourself those questions can be really helpful. So again, this shift in metaphor from architect to gardener be really helpful in how we respond to our children, no matter how old they are. Thanks.